Welcome to the Deep Dive Thinker. This channel is gonna be about doing a deep dive and thinking deeply about certain things. So there's a need to be a critical thinker in today's society. I'm a natural deep thinker. I like to slow down and to think through things and then think deeply about things, especially before making life decisions and before taking a stance on what I believe about like a current event or things in culture and things like that. And I feel like it's a need to be a critical thinker and not just take things at face value. I feel like there's just a lot of people in society that live and that base their values and their perspectives and beliefs based on what they know and what they kind of have like a pattern of thinking, and then that's the pattern that they have. And specifically examples of this would be so Christ followers. My former channel was the Prayer Soldiers, so hopefully if you're watching this, or if you're new, if you're not a Christ follower, that's cool too. But if you're watching this and you are a Christ follower, maybe you've seen this too. Maybe you've even seen this if you aren't a Christ follower. Anyways, when Christians engage with things from the world, they can either be, and I see them falling to either one side or the other. I've seen this multiple times. Either being naive and just like buying into anything and everything and allowing their feelings and allowing whatever is going on around them to, and they're just buying into every single thing, and whatever's popping at the time, they're buying into that. And then on the other side, you have Christians that are superstitious and that are labeling things as demonic and evil that really don't have any super evil basis to them that they might be thinking that they have. And there's many other evil things in this world that don't look as evil but are still evil as well, that could also be labeled as demonic, but they don't look as demonic, and they're not being labeled by a lot of other Christians as demonic. So those things aren't being labeled as demonic, even though they could be called demonic. But I don't really want to say that word too much because it's a very popular word for this sect of Christians. I've seen both sides of the coin, and I think that for both angles and for both camps, it is very important to be a critical thinker. And even if you're not even on this side or that side, critical thinking is essential for anything in life. If I ever don't know something, I'm just gonna be like, I'm not gonna take an angle on it, and I'm okay with that, because I'd rather just say I don't know than say I do know and act prideful and feel like I have to take a stance. And you know what I'm saying, that's the better way to do it, I'd say. The deep dive thinker is going to be about thinking through things deeply and not just taking them at face value. And ultimately, like in Romans 12:2, it says, "Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, perfect, and pleasing will." And the only way you're going to be able to test and approve his will is if you're critically thinking and you're like looking at something and you're testing it. You're not just taking it. You're not just like saying that's demonic, or you're not just saying that's a good thing, but you're testing it. You'd be like, is this in accordance with God's will? Then you can approve it if it is, or you can deny it if it isn't. And that's the process of a critical, deep thinker. In Proverbs 23, verse 7, it says, "For as he thinks within himself, so he is." So literally the Bible itself says that the way that you think about yourself is the way that, like, that's who you are. Ultimately, at the end of the day, your thoughts are going to determine the type of person that you are. Like, that's crazy, and that's just so true. Like, when you really think about it, man, the ability for you to think is the ability defines your abilities as a person. And you know what I'm saying, you might not be the most politically informed. You don't have to be politically informed. I'm honestly not that big into politics, but the ability to sort through information and become a critical thinker is important for your life, because when you are a critical, deep thinker, you can evaluate your own motives. You can evaluate where you are as a person. You can understand where you're at in life. And when you can do that, then you gotta believe in your ability to get to another level, get to another place if you want to get to another place. I don't know. I'm the type of person that likes to be growing and developing. So I'm like thinking, man, how can I get to this? How can I do this? How can I become more of just like a better version of myself? And when you think about those things, it's really important to become a critical thinker, because you can think about those things. For somebody that isn't a critical thinker, they're not thinking about their life very deeply. They're just going to work, they're going to sleep, playing video games, watching TV, consuming, and they're not thinking for themselves. They're just like taking everything that the world gives them at face value. They go to church, they're like, that was a good sermon, but they're not thinking about how it applies to their life. Or they go to a job and they're not thinking about what skills am I developing. Is this a good fit for me? What could be a good fit for me? If they're not a critical thinker, they're just taking the first job, or they're just taking a job that gives them a good paycheck, when maybe there could be something else out there that's a better fit for them, that they would be able to get in the first place if they understood what their skills are, which all starts with becoming a deeper thinker and thinking things through. Thinking deeply about scripture and applying it to life and applying it to culture, applying it to your life and your situation are all needed skills in society, needed skills as a follower of Christ. It doesn't matter if you just go to church and think that's a good sermon if you don't actually apply it. In James, it says that faith without works is dead, and it says to be a doer of the word and not a hearer only. And the only way that you're going to be a doer of the word is if you're thinking about it deeply enough to apply it to your life, and creatively enough to apply it to your life as well. So like critically, deeply, creatively, that's what this channel is going to be about doing a deep dive into those things to help you become a better thinker, a stronger thinker. And I love scripture. I love reading it. I love thinking about it. And I love thinking about what does this mean, and also what does it mean for me in my life, and what does it mean for this in this cultural context. That's what this channel is going to be about. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the Deep Dive Thinker. Let's go.